According to today's Daily Telegraph, how much do charity chuggers earn for every donor they sign up? The answer is £136.
That's right, more on that in a sec. You're watching Friday's Right Stuff with Dominic Holland, Janet Ellis and Scott Capurro. If you're in London this weekend, you can see Scott open up right in front of your eyes at the Camden Head pub. All details on our website, 5.tv/rightstuff. Don't forget as well, that is the place... Excuse me, just get my brick out the way. You never know if the audience is going to get restless. That's also the place we can go to find out more about our book club. Room by Emma Donoghue is what we're going to be discussing this time next week. I tell you the truth, we've already had some of your reviews come in by email. They're really good. Keep them coming, and we'll read some out next week. Now then, coming up next on today's show, is it offensive to ask someone, a colleague perhaps, if they have an all-over tan? 0207 173 5555 is the number. If you were offended by it, what would you do? But first, we're going to get the rest of today's headlines from you, Scott. What have you got for us?
Oh, first, in the Guardian, on page 9, the clusters of wealth around top schools block poorer families, the claim being that rich kids get better spots in better schools.
Yeah, because the families can move into the catchment areas because they can afford to pay the premium.
I have a friend who told me that he did buy a house in a neighbourhood he never lived in to get his kid in that school.
Lots of people do, but what's going to happen about it? Because they're...
Well, it says unfair admission practices result in schools with skewed intakes and do not reflect their neighbourhoods, Bernardo's says, the charity. So they want to start making it fairer, easier for poorer kids to get into these schools by giving secondary school admissions, they fall to ensure a level playing field. They want to level that somehow.
So they're going to fiddle it?
Yeah, a little bit, I think.
OK.
Well, it might be good.
Social engineering?
I mean, I went to school with a lot of middle-class kids. It was just terrible. We were all dressed so nicely, we were so polite, and we did really well in school. It was awful. How could we? Who do we think we are? I'm sure poor kids do really good in school. I don't know any, but I'm sure they do really, really well. I see them at bus stops and stuff and sweeping streets. They're really good at that. Let's keep them where they belong. Anyway, so... Well, we all have a role to play. They're not poor because they're just poor. I mean, they did something wrong. Well, I'm just saying.
Jog on.
Their last lifetime, they might have been Hitler's chauffeur. Who knows? Anyway, so, in The Sun... Moving on, is how to tell if your kids are gangsters.
This is brilliant.
Well, if your kid apparently makes Ali G hand signals, or listens to rap music, or doodles in school books, or is on Facebook, then they're a rapper and a gang member. You got to watch out for them. This is
according to Norfolk Constabulary.
Yes, the Sleepy Norfolk Council has released this list of things to look out for with the kids. And then they admitted that there are no gang problems in Norfolk. They just want to let the rest of the world know what they've come up with the research. So if the kid's doing this with a ring on, and then if he tortures animals.
Well, yes. Let's leave the animal torturing for now.
So,
that's okay, Scott.
And then in The Sun, again, which is a wealth of amazing articles today. In The Sun on page 35, an ex tried to torch me at a black man's orgy.
Eh?
Yeah, we've all been there. But,
By the way, folks, take a good look at the picture of that woman. She organises the orgy.
Yeah. A lot of heavy lifting, obviously. You know, a lot of guys like that. There's a lot to grab onto.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. But it's not my fantasy of what an orgy is like. Doesn't square with that lady there.
Right.
Or Richard Herring.
Or Richard Herring.
What does an orgy look like to you?
Well, it doesn't look anything like her.
Is that why the three of us are here?
You're not in it either.
Right, okay.
Just so you know.
She's an orgy hostess, just so you know. She apparently partook sometimes. And in court, they asked, she said that her boyfriend and she ran this business. Yes, and it's a business for men who like to be entranced and engaged with women, or something. It's women who like black guys. Anyway, so she ran it with her boyfriend who's black, and then they got angry, and he chased her around the place and pinned her on the coffee table and held some gas fluid and poured it over her, and then got out a Bic. And she said, "Oh, he's going to light me on fire." And I said, maybe he's just trying to get you to exercise. Maybe, you know? No, because
No,
it's better for her.
The serious thing
you got to burn the fat off somehow.
Scott. The serious thing.
Feel the burn. A bit too literal, I know. But anyway,
the thing we have to say is that he denies all of this.
Yes.
Okay.
No. Well, it happened. I don't know. But anyway, she's in court trying. Anyway.
Okay. Phew.
Yeah.
Right.
She's
Janet,
a lot of work.
What have you got?
What a world we live in, hey? The front page of the Mail features Azam Nadia, who is the ex-Polypec chairman, who left the country some 17 years ago, just before the court, which was already kind of assembled to charge him with possibly embezzling £34 million from his account. There were 17 other counts to answer. He's now come back. He's come back in a rather extraordinary style, though, in a private plane accompanied by Kay Burley. And they stopped off halfway across the journey so that she could do another bit of the interview. He's accompanied by a journalist from The Times.
I should explain, just for the benefit of younger people, OK, he's not a pop star. And as far as I'm aware, he hasn't done many of us any favours. I can't quite understand, because the kids are saying, why is this funny bloke coming around London, smiling everywhere, flying in by private jet, no passport to get into the country?
I think they're right to ask those questions, because I think a lot of people who've been
have you got any answers? Because I
have no answers to it, and I think the British officials who've been spending the last 17 years trying to get him to justice are asking those questions too.
Because he's just got lots of money?
Yeah, it's a very odd thing, isn't it? We think it looks very much like that. I mean, on the minor side, he's had to surrender his passport. He's got to give a specific address in London, but the address he's renting is £20,000 a month flat.
Sounds like hell.
He's, not in any particular discomfort. And he comes to court next week. But it is a very odd thing, and kind of weird of him, isn't it? Because even if he has all this money, which he obviously does, however he came back, it's a very odd thing that he doesn't come back looking a little more penitent or ready to face justice.
Is 69 years young. His wife, Noor, is 29. What would she see? What did she see in multi-millionaire...
Pound notes flying by while she's on her back, obviously.
Alleged thief, Basil Nadir.
Her room's wallpapered in pens.
Yes.
I know, not that suit, that's for sure. There's great news, though, in the field of genome study, because the genome code for wheat has been cracked. And did you know it is longer than the one for a human being? Isn't that extraordinary? Now, this, of course, could lead to eradication of diseases, the more wheat being planted,
or
lower
more
bread
money
prices.
for conglomerates, I would imagine, with super grains.
Except that the British scientists responsible have put a draft version of it online, making it available to scientists around the world.
Fantastic.
That is fantastic, isn't it? Absolutely fantastic. We've all been accosted, this is from the Telegraph this morning, by those people who come up to you in the street wearing a jerkin of a particular charity and suggest that you might have a quick word with them and then hand over some money. And according to this article, they are earning up to £136 a time for every hit, you might say. Now, the charities are denying this, and I have to say, I'm very ambivalent. I find them very annoying, who does not? But for a lot of the charities, that is a starting point of what they call a relationship, in other words, people giving the money with somebody. These are reputable charities.
What if the people concerned are old folk who don't really know what they're doing, as invariably seems to be the case when I see them in action?
I have never been through the procedure. I don't know whether there's a very detailed cooling-off period, whether or not you just have to hand over. I suspect there is.
Charities are really... You know, you think that's a really worthy charity, and they're going around...
I know, when we know these kids are mostly recruited the day before and hastily mug up so that they can do their chugging, but even so, I do think we have to cut charities a bit of slack in these hard times. And a story from the Mail that nobody can read really without weeping. Even you, Scott, might find this heartwarming. Kate Ogg in Australia gave birth to twins, but they were very premature. They were born at 27 weeks. And the little girl, Emily, was fine, but the little boy, Jamie, they tried to resuscitate him for 20 minutes, and they said to her, I'm sorry, and they handed her Jamie to cuddle after his death. And 2 hours later, he started breathing, and then he took milk, and there's a picture of her now. He's 5 months old. She, not surprisingly...
Is he OK?
They're saying so. They're saying so, yes. I mean, it was obviously her instinct. So she held him and talked to him and brought him back to life.
Time is short. What have you got, Mr. Holland?
Gareth Williams, The Spy.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's an interesting thing. It's the different coverage of the same story. I think what we should bear in mind is that this is a young man, an incredibly talented man, 17, got a first-class degree.
In the service of the nation.
Ian and Ellen, his mum and dad, are seriously grieving his loss. And all these salacious details about his private life are being splashed around. The innuendo is there. And, they're saying that he's a blackmail target because he was a cross-dressing gay man, single. But I just think...
I remember him now.
There's little concern for the grief that's going on in that family.
But also, he was working as a code breaker.
A brilliant code breaker.
From GCHQ to MI6. The guy was working in the service of the country. He is what you like as a quiet hero. Like Turing and the Enigma machine, he's doing that kind of work. And to think that somebody is a hero, OK, he's not in desert fatigues going out there, shooting lead at people, but he's a hero. And to treat a hero like this, I find shocking.
We don't know why he was killed yet,
Well,
Matthew,
no, but so we shouldn't speculate about
that's
the
my point.
damage is
The
just
innuendo
horrible.
is there, and there's no concern at all for his grieving family. So there we are. Extraordinary story. A man is in hospital for drug-related, an addict, and he is let go from hospital. He goes to...
he dismisses himself,
he dismisses himself. He does drugs again. He falls across, he falls over, and as a result of his lying in a certain way, when he's stoned, he loses his leg. The NHS grab him back from his house. They, with brilliant surgeons, brilliant NHS, they save his life, and rather than say thank you, he's suing them because he lost his leg.
Every story has a happy ending, doesn't it?
So he's suing them, and then the cat story rumbles on. Our friend who jumped the cat in the bin. There's a great thing on YouTube. They've reenacted the cat thing with a great big guy dressed in a cat suit putting on a woman in a bin, and it's a big hit on YouTube.
It's disgusting treating an old lady like that. It's appalling. After the break, is it offensive to ask someone, a colleague, let's say, if they got an all-over tan when they were on holiday? Is that too personal? Is it a bit pervy? Is it a total no-no or an innocuous, if slightly cheeky question? It's a question that has gone all the way to court now, but maybe we can sort it out right now for nothing with your help. 0207 173 5555, that's the number to call. Do it and tell me this. If you were offended by someone asking if you had an all-over tan, what would you do about it? We'll find out after these.
What percentage of people dread going to work because of lecturers' colleagues? 16, 36 or 96%? Find out after the break.